It is now time for another interview from the backlot. This episode's guest, writer, director, star of the horror short Nyctophobic, Theo Francocci. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Backlot 605 podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman. Joined with me is my co-host on this podcast, Sam Lenz.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Sam. Today we're conducting we got another interview, and again, it's right up our alley because we're talking horror again today, our favorite genre to talk about. And
Best genre there is.
It is the best genre there is. And today we're joined by Theo Francocci, the director of the short horror film Nyctophobic. Theo, welcome to the show, and again, congratulations on the movie, man. We both had a chance to watch it. Yeah, it's a perfect late night movie, man.
Nice.
Yep.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Absolutely. So I want to jump into something we were kind of talking about before this movie, or before we started recording this here, is how the pandemic has changed how movies are made. And I got to ask, when did you shoot this movie? Was it during the midst of the pandemic? And how did it really affect you guys in the shooting process?
It has been tough, guys. We shot April 2021. I wrote this film last Halloween, so October 2020 was just like right in the middle, and yeah, it was tough because you really have to be very careful, and we were super extra careful about distance. Everyone had to wear masks. Everyone had to be vaccinated. You're adding an extra layer of safety on set, which it's a very hot topic even nowadays, right? So it definitely slows the process, and I would say that's another thing to consider in pre-production when you're prepping to shoot. You really want to consider everything as much as possible. I always say I'm huge in pre-production, because those days, plus we shot it in 2 days, so you don't want anything to go wrong. And another thing that I always say is, when you're on set, it's problem solving from the moment you start, from the moment you finish. So definitely was an extra thing to consider. But we had 2 people on board that were COVID officers, so that they had the situation under control.
That's awesome. Yeah, and this movie, it looks great, by the way. The lighting, the cinematography, like everything in this is very very clean, very well done. And there are a lot of fun nods to different horror movies. I definitely caught some references to The Shining visually and all that. I was wondering what films influenced Nyctophobic? What did you kind of look at to draw inspiration from?
Yeah, many. I would say I love James Wan. I love Insidious. I love everything that is The Conjuring, Annabelle. I would say that was a lot what I wanted to have in my film, and I talk a lot specifically about Insidious because it's a little different compared to other movies, right? Compared to the typical church, like there is the devil and everything. No, that movie specifically goes into like a more philosophical dimension, and that was kind of the thing that I wanted to have in Nyctophobic. When we enter her memory and her trauma, I really wanted to feel like we're entering a different world, basically. Z is another reference. I know you guys interviewed the director. Great movie, very intense. I would say, of course, The Shining, guys. That was that there is that sequence where Mark is outside the door, and me and the cinematographer Natalia Moscoso, we literally had, with the phone, just taking a look at that reference. It's like, I wanted to have it exactly the same. I wanted to be like, a little wink or a little bow to the master. That's,
right.
And of course, like Dario Argento, and all the Italian tradition that lives in my DNA.
Yeah, and as a horror fan ourselves, we could see all those influences, and obviously you're a big horror fan yourself. Just looking at this movie, and you can see all of that's ingrained in this DNA, while having your own, obviously your own voice expressed in this movie. As far as the plot and the overall story for this movie, you said you wrote this last year around Halloween. Was it just you were in the spirit of Halloween, and you're like, I need to write this type of story about this woman who is afraid of the dark and has to basically confront her like deepest, darkest fears inside of a very confined space? Like, how did you come up with the overall like story and concept for the movie?
I consider this to be like an exorcism of my fear of darkness. It did start there when I was a kid. I had this experience where I was in darkness in my grandfather's house, and I woke up and I was just like, what is this? I got scared as hell. So it kind of came, from that. Like, I always love to go in and dig deep into memories, or into traumas, and trying to express how traumas can really influence our lives, everyday lives. Especially in this case, was how Stacy's fear of darkness can influence her life, romantic life. So her relationship with Mark, and the fact that she's so afraid, and it's something that she has to face, otherwise she will never be free from it. And of course she will have to, and you guys saw. So it's important to me to face demons, right? We all have them, and we all have to face them. Then the process was actually started as I think I was in class, and one of the exercises was to describe a scene only with dialogue. So I was writing this dialogue between these two characters, and through the dialogue, kind of express something that happened, and that's the main part of the film, when she tells why she's afraid of the dark. And and then from there I just developed it, and I was like, well, there's a lot of potential in this story. Why not just bring it to life, and add all the elements. The fact that it is in basically two locations definitely was one of those short films that I had written that was like a good one to shoot during a pandemic, let's put it this way.
Yeah. And going back to what you said about facing your demons, there's a very literal demon in this. I noticed in the credits that you play him as well. So what was it like creating the demon? I mean, he's got a very specific look, very cool look. How did you go about doing the makeup and visual effects for that?
Man, that was a lot of work. That was a lot of work for sure. We reached out to the Los Angeles School of Makeup, and we got a lot of people applying for the role. Basically, what I did, I had this thing in mind that was coming from the Fuseli's The Nightmare that I have here in my background. That demon that is sitting on the woman, that was my main inspiration. But I also wanted it to be a little, again, like Insidious, like some Voldemort, a little reptilian, because I love it, just like a little dragon-ish.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Everyone who applied kind of I asked for a specific original design for a demon of darkness. And basically we picked the one that we thought it was like a great starting point. Shout out for Yoon Nam, who was incredible. Like the thing that she designed was marvelous. We just had to, like tweak, just add a little extra stuff that I wanted to have, and that was it. Honestly, that was a
awesome.
great. The only problem was that, which wasn't a problem. It's just like something that you had to consider, schedule wise, is that it required a lot of time um, to apply. We had the bowl
Right.
cap, we had all the prosthetics and stuff. Plus, you had to hairspray all the blackness, and yeah. Just when we were scheduling, it was consider 1 hour, 2 hours, and then we did a lot of preparation. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all that preparation paid off. It
Yeah,
looks incredible.
for
As
sure.
soon as you show up in the movie as the demon of the movie, the overall fear that she's facing, it's like, oh wow, yeah, that is nightmare fuel right there. You can understand
Hmm.
right away what she's afraid of and why she's terrified. And I mean, throughout this movie, you have some really effective and incredible jump scares. What's it
Yeah.
like as a director pulling those off? Because that's got to be such a great feeling of knowing when, man, you just pull off this incredible jump scare, and there's quite a few in this movie. What's it like to try to pull those off?
A lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, guys. It just is. As an horror fan, to me, that is part of the game. You just want to see if you can make them effective. And of course, like watching a lot of horror, you have references. You already know what kind of is going to work and what you think is not going to work, or trying to start from an idea and then develop it and see what's going on. And I would say in my case, it's always a matter of a combination between setting it up, like the slow burner. I love the slow burners. Like in the case of Stacy, like she's telling that story, and you're not expecting it to arrive at that point where it happens. Um, Another element that it's very helpful, of course, is music, because
Hmm.
that's really what's effective. Like the dynamics between silence and very loud noises, that's one of the secrets for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The end of her flashback sequence, that it got me. And part of that is the music for sure, like what you said. And I noticed in the credits again, you also composed the music for this.
Yeah.
What was it like, kind of? I mean, because you wrote, you directed, you star in this in two different roles, and you did the music. Um, what led you to try and tackle all of those things on this movie?
You save a lot of money for
Yeah.
sure.
And what was it
I
like composing the score too? Yeah.
it's it was something that I really wanted to tackle. I
Yeah.
love when like I always like to put myself in these new situations where I have to try and do more. Like trying to step a little bit uh, up from another step up, another step up. And in this case, I already had the idea of how I wanted to um, the music to be, starting with the music box. And I did have the original music of the music box, and I wanted to kind of work around Beethoven's Fiorelise. That was
Mm,
like kind of my starting point, and then I
nice.
kind of lost it in the process. I was just like composing melody over melody over melody, and then at the end I was like, well, this is something new, which is fine. It's Nyctophobic's original music. So
Yeah.
I had some references, of course, and of course I knew that I wanted to have those mixture of orchestral sounds with electronic, with sound design stuff, because that's actually my origins. I worked in sound design for years in Rome, and
that's awesome.
that's a lot of learning. To be honest, you see the movie that is just out of the editing, like Media Composer or whatever, and has just like temp music or sometimes even no music. So you kind of imagine, while you're working on sound design, this one can be like a cool spot to have this sort of effect. And then as a sound designer, you work with composers and you kind of mix those two together, and the result sometimes it's glorious. The balance between the two is perfect. And I would say having that background definitely was a weapon that I couldn't wait to pull out.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the score for this movie is incredible, and again, congratulations on that. And there's something you also mentioned there is your background. I want to jump back to your background of how you got into horror. What were some of the movies that you like grew up with? What was it? Was there one movie that you saw that just stuck with you, and you're like, "Yep, I like this. I like being scared."
The Exorcist. I just have the chills by thinking about it. It's too much. that was a lot.
Great flick.
For sure. And then afterwards, I would say a lot of Dario Argento, Suspiria, The Ring, the original.
Yeah.
My God, like I couldn't sleep for a week. I was like, okay, after the 7 days, I was like, okay, I'm free. Okay, I'm free. All right, I'm alive.
Yeah, you can't watch The Ring without ruining your entire week.
Exactly. Oh man, I have a story about The Ring. While I was watching it, and I was watching it alone, nighttime, everyone was asleep, and I really wanted to, right? And like the old TVs, I had an old TV with the cable, and the cable wasn't like connected very well. So while the movie was going, the cable disconnects, and the effect of the TV that just like goes on static. I was like, all right, it's going on. It is happening. It is happening. Oh my God.
Oh man. I would have dove behind my couch like
I froze. I just remember I froze. I stopped for like good 5 minutes just to say like nothing is coming out of the TV, right? Yeah. And now just like going in the back, fixing the cable. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna say that's terrifying, especially as a kid. Like your imagination's already running wild, and again, to add to an experience of a movie, that is terrifying.
And then when you grow up, then you understand what's behind it and all the paranormal activity, like how it works, how can you make those effects, and it's just a lot of fun, creating it, because like we were saying, like creating, like thinking about those jump scares, how can you make that effect, and then when you see that is happening and people are actually accusing the hit, or just like being scared, means that it's working, so you can be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
I have two questions that are kind of going to go back to back. So once the movie's done, obviously it's done, finished, you've been in a couple film festivals already. What's that process like? And also, because you're in Los Angeles, I'm not sure what their restrictions are out there. Have you watched this with an audience yet?
So I'll answer the second one first. Yes, we watched it at the Horror House Film Festival, and then again, because of the pandemic, everyone in theater you have to wear the mask, and but it's definitely coming back. We have another screening at the Studio City International Film and TV Festival at the end of the month, so that there will be a second live screening with an actual audience, and that changes everything. Like you can actually see where people are when are they scared, when they're like having that little laugh of like relief. And that's essential. Like we did some like like test screenings for like previous versions just to see if it's actually working or not. But it's different because having an actual crowd, it's amazing. It's amazing, and I'm very happy that we're almost out of this pandemic so that we can enjoy movies as they are supposed to be enjoyed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Absolutely, especially a movie like this that is so ingrained in trying to just terrify the audience, to feel that reaction, the visceral reaction of the audience. That's so vital, and especially horror, having that type of reaction to the films. But I got to ask then, what's next for you and this movie? Obviously, you said you're going to be playing at another festival coming up in Los Angeles on the 22nd. Where else are people going to be able to find the film maybe after its festival run?
Yeah, we're discovering as we're going through this festival run, to be honest. It's always complicated to kind of predict. We just submitted to a lot of film festivals, and we'll see how that goes. I would say then I don't know. I had some ideas regarding this film specifically. I would love to see a feature film length from this concept for sure, and I'm working on the structure and outline of that one. But another idea would also be, maybe could be like the beginning of like a short series, or like a little anthology, maybe like on different phobias. And then could be, like each chapter is a different phobia, and you have maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6, 10, who knows?
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there are options that I'm just exploring, but I also like to make different things. So like I also have another script that is more relationships / something that is more musical, and I'm also trying to develop that one. Still a little dark, but in a different way, more dramatic than horror. So yeah, again, it's a matter of, let's see how the world and the universe is going, right? Because
Yeah.
everyone is just like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say, oh yeah, by next summer, and then they're like, oh yeah, next spring, or so.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very hard to predict.
Yeah, one day everybody will be right. It's just,
for sure.
Yeah.
No, and then the thing is definitely having that in mind and putting it on paper, and that's one of the things that I always say to writers is, like, as long as you're writing, like, it doesn't matter if it's good or not, then you have that starting point, and then you can just have feedback, have notes, and then rewrite, and start over, thinking about different way you can do that concept. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, all that hard work did pay off, though, man. This movie is a riot for horror fans and people who just love to just get scared sometimes. This is definitely one of those type of movies, and I can't wait for many more people to be able to check this out. And I'm going to jump into our final question, because I'm very curious your thoughts on this one, Theo. If you're going to pair Nyctophobic with another movie and have it play either before or after it, what movie are you going to pair it alongside of?
Any movie, like old?
Any movie.
Contemporary?
Any movie.
Man, that is a question. I would pair it. Well, I mean, I kind of want to say The Shining, but I'm like, I'm blushing as I'm saying this, just for comparison.
It's okay. You can dream big on this podcast. Go with The Shining.
Nice. Yeah,
Shoot for the stars.
Exactly. If I was to shoot for the stars, that's for sure. I mean, just so that audiences that are not into the genre that much, they kind of feel the connection, and there is a lot of it, art, cinematography, directing, yeah, very much so. That would be a dream.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's
awesome.
That's one of the first movies that came to mind, not just because of that one shot, but even your character in this movie has the feeling of that type of the Jack Torrance type of character in The Shining as well. So that's an incredible choice and an incredible double feature that audiences would eat that up every single time. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
sure.
Theo, it was an absolute pleasure to talk with you. We can't wait to see what you do next. And if people want to either watch the movie, where can they find it? And if they want to follow you and your work online, is there a place that they can find you online?
Yeah, for sure. My website is www.mynameandsurname.com, Theo Francocci. On Instagram is exactly the same. On Facebook is exactly the same. It's just Google my name and something will come up.
That's the best way to find people.
Exactly.
So
thank you guys. No, I really appreciate you, and likewise, I'm really looking forward to see, where this is going to go. And again, I appreciate you, and I'm very happy to be here and be part of the podcast. And I follow you guys, and
Awesome.
Well, awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We appreciate it.